Chief Justice John Roberts recently released his annual year-end report, and its central focus has sparked significant debate about the future of judicial authority in the United States. In a report that sidesteps addressing the scandals and controversies surrounding certain Supreme Court justices, Roberts instead zeroes in on his deep concerns about the erosion of respect for judicial authority and compliance with court rulings, an anxiety that appears to be directly tied to the potential return of Donald Trump to the presidency. Roberts' statements in the report reflect his apprehension about a future in which court decisions, particularly those unfavorable to the executive branch, might be ignored outright. He warns that such defiance threatens the rule of law, a cornerstone of American democracy. Without explicitly naming Trump, Roberts paints a picture of an administration unwilling to respect judicial rulings, raising alarms about the stability of the constitutional order. This concern, however, highlights a glaring irony. The Supreme Court, under Roberts' leadership, has played a pivotal role in empowering Trump and eroding safeguards against executive overreach. From decisions regarding presidential immunity to rulings favoring Trump on issues like the 14th Amendment and insurrection clauses, the court has often sided in ways that embolden Trump's disregard for norms and institutional checks. In doing so, the court has arguably created the very conditions that now keep Roberts awake at night. Roberts begins his report by acknowledging the inherent dissatisfaction that judicial rulings often evoke. He emphasizes that the judicial process inherently produces winners and losers, leading to discontent among those who feel wronged by the outcomes. However, he underscores that for decades, even unpopular rulings have been respected and enforced, preserving the balance of power among the branches of government. That norm, he warns, is under threat. His alarm stems from recent statements by public officials who have openly suggested ignoring federal court decisions. While he frames these comments as coming from both sides of the political spectrum, it is clear that his primary target is Trump. Roberts calls such rhetoric and behavior dangerous, arguing that it undermines the judiciary's role as the arbiter of constitutional disputes. To reinforce his point, Roberts quotes the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who emphasized that America's strength lies in the rule of law. He also draws upon historical examples, including Chief Justice William Howard Taft's assertion that judges must carefully consider their decisions, knowing they will face public scrutiny and criticism. Yet Roberts distinguishes between legitimate criticism and actions that cross into intimidation, misinformation, and personal attacks, behaviors Trump has normalized. Roberts directly addresses incidents of doxing, threats, and misinformation campaigns targeting judges. These tactics, he writes, are unacceptable and pose a grave threat to the independence of the judiciary. Again, without naming names, his description closely matches Trump's actions, including attacks on judges who ruled against him, inflammatory statements about their motives, and attempts to delegitimize the judicial process. Roberts also highlights historical moments when the judiciary faced resistance, most notably during the civil rights era. He references desegregation efforts in the 1960s, when federal enforcement was necessary to implement court-ordered integration. Those events, he suggests, illustrate the importance of an executive branch willing to uphold judicial rulings, even when politically unpopular. But Roberts' fears about an executive branch ignoring court rulings point to a larger problem, one of the Supreme Court's own making. Recent rulings have chipped away at accountability mechanisms and emboldened Trump's disregard for the rule of law. For example, the court's immunity decision effectively shields presidents from prosecution for actions taken while in office, creating a dangerous precedent that undermines checks and balances. Similarly, the court's decisions on the 14th Amendment and insurrection-related cases have weakened constitutional guardrails designed to protect democracy from authoritarian threats. These rulings, along with others that favor Trump, have emboldened him and his supporters to view themselves as untouchable, a development Roberts now seems to regret. By focusing on hypothetical threats to judicial authority rather than acknowledging the court's role in enabling Trump's behavior, Roberts' report reads as an exercise in deflection. It sidesteps the court's own ethical controversies, including revelations about Justice Clarence Thomas's acceptance of undisclosed gifts and luxury travel from individuals with business before the court. It also ignores the scandals surrounding Justice Samuel Alito, who faced criticism for flying flags associated with the January 6th insurrection at his homes. These ethical lapses have eroded public trust in the Supreme Court, yet Roberts fails to address them, choosing instead to lecture the nation about the importance of respecting judicial authority. This omission undermines his credibility and highlights the disconnect between the court's actions and the principles he claims to defend. Roberts' concerns about executive defiance are valid, but they come across as too little, too late. The court's decisions have already weakened institutional safeguards and paved the way for Trump, or a future authoritarian leader, to flout judicial rulings. By dismantling protections against abuse of power, the court has created the conditions for the very crisis Roberts fears. Looking ahead, Roberts' report raises urgent questions about the resilience of American democracy. Can the judiciary maintain its authority in the face of growing political polarization and attacks on its legitimacy? Will future administrations respect court rulings, or will the erosion of norms continue? To address these challenges, Roberts and the court must go beyond rhetorical appeals to the rule of law. They must take concrete steps to restore public trust, including implementing stronger ethics rules, holding justices accountable for misconduct, and reconsidering rulings that undermined democratic principles. Roberts' report serves as a wake-up call, but it also highlights the judiciary's complicity in creating the problem it now faces. Moving forward, the Supreme Court must reckon with its role in enabling Trump's rise and work to rebuild the guardrails of democracy before it's too late.